happy, not quite Halloween. It's past Halloween, but I'm going to talk about a Halloween-y kind of show, Netflix's Castlevania. I just finished watching it. I wanted to have this done in time for Halloween, but I underestimated how long it would take me to watch the show while handling other things, but this show is really awesome. I mean, it's based on the video game series, and I know a lot of fans of the show are fans of the video game series. Here's the thing, though. I've actually never played the Castlevania games. I know about them. I know that I have surface-level knowledge. I know about Simon Belmont. I know that the Belmonts are the enemies of Dracula, and I know that a bunch of horror creatures appear in the game, like a Frankenstein-y creature and mummies, and the Grim Reaper, and Carmilla, and Dracula, and all that stuff. But I never really played the games, so you're going to get kind of an outsider's perspective on this show. So hopefully that's interesting for you guys. I'm also a big lover of vampires and, well, all things mythological, obviously. So, yeah, I freaking loved this show. Now, I'm going to talk about it spoiler-free. And then I'm going to give you a spoiler warning, and I'm going to talk about spoilers. So, first part of this is going to be spoiler-free. Now, like, the basic premise here is, like, there's, like, a war going on between humanity and vampires, which is started because humanity has managed to piss Dracula off. And I can't tell you how they did it, because that's a spoiler. But they do it in a way that kind of does make you side with Dracula. Like when you see it, you're like, oh, come on! Like... So yeah, and this show basically has three main protagonists. First of all, we've got Trevor Belmont, one of the Belmonts who, like, the Belmonts are vampire hunters. Basically, it's a long family line of monster hunters, primarily vampire hunters. They've collected all kinds of gear and knowledge with which to fight the vampires. And Trevor is the last of his family line because it's more dramatic that way. And then another main character is Sypha. Sypha is basically a sorceress. Like, she's basically a sorceress, and she is so badass and awesome and likable. And then the third one is Alucard. Alucard is half vampire, half human, and he's my favorite character on the show. He is just so fun to watch. Like, he has such a wonderful, likable person. All three of these characters are great, by the way. That's one of the strengths of this show, is you want them to win. You want to see them succeed. You want them all to live. Like, you see how... you see what drives them. They have deep characters. In my opinion, Sypha is a fantastic example of there's a lot of controversy about strong female characters these days. I think Sypha is a fantastic example of a strong female character done right. Because she has a ton of personality to her. She feels realistic in the kind of personality she has. Honestly, like, I've known a lot of women in my lifetime, and Sypha reminds me of several of them. Like, her attitude, the kinds of things she says, the way she jokes around. It reminds me of some people I know in real life, and so I'm like, that feels like a real person. That feels like a real personality. That feels like a character. One problem a lot of people do these days when they try to write, like, an empowering female character, in my opinion, is they'll just, like, put a woman in a movie, give her superpowers that aren't even, that are just out of nowhere, and they'll think, okay, we did it, we got our representation, and we're good. Like, that happened in the Mulan remake. I hated that crap. That kind of happened in the Captain Marvel movie. I thought that was a very underwhelming movie. It almost happened in the new Star Wars trilogy. I think Rey is pretty good, but I thought she could have been a lot better. So, like, I hate seeing when that happens, when, like, I feel like, you know, like, you have potential for a really good, like, character, and you just don't handle it properly. But I think Sypha's handled brilliantly because she has fantastic character to her. She's super likable. I love her. And on top of that, I love seeing her fight. She is such a badass and her powers are so cool and so fun to see. And you see throughout this series, she kind of gets better and better at using them. The only gripe I have with it is I kind of wish we had seen or gotten more context to how she acquired so much power in the first place. Like, she seems on a whole nother level than any other, like, magician in this show. There's not a lot of magicians in this show. Like, so I was just like, I was like, how'd you get so strong in the first place? But, you know, it's not like she starts God tier. She gets better as she goes along, and she's extremely entertaining. I love her. I also like Trevor. He's very entertaining. He's very funny. And like I said, my favorite character is Alucard. He's an incredibly likable. His powers are also insanely creative and fun to watch. Like, so, and when all three of them are together, that's when the show is at its absolute best. When you get to see all three of them showcase all their skills and abilities all at once, that's when this show becomes like a 10 out of 10 show. It is incredible to see that stuff. Now, one thing everyone praises this show for is its animation. Now, I'll admit, when I was first watching it, like, during certain parts, I thought, you know, I think the animation could be better here or there, because everyone says it's perfect, 10 out of 10 animation. I don't think it's perfect 10 out of 10 animation. There are times when the animation is a little choppy or could be better, but when we get to the fight scenes, that's when you're like, oh, that's where the budget went, because the fight scenes are perfect in this show. They feel like an extremely well-done anime. There are battles in this show that feel like stuff out of Dragon Ball Z. Like, this is amazing. And it really made me realize more, like, when I talked about Record of Ragnarok, when that show came out, a lot of people were mad. They said the fight scenes, like, they wanted so much more. They didn't like the Adam versus Zeus fight. They wanted the fights to be so much more intense. And I remember thinking, oh, the Adam versus Zeus fight was still cool. Fights were still cool. But then after watching this, which is another show made by Netflix, like Record of Ragnarok was made by Netflix, and seeing how good the boss fights are here, I think I get it more now. I'm like, oh, that's what you wanted in that show. I get it. Yeah, that would have been great if Record of Ragnarok had fights as good as these fights. Record of Ragnarok does not have fights as good as these fights. These fights are fucking awesome. Like, if you're giving this show a shot and you're like, I'm not interested in the plot, I'm not interested in all the talking, fine, just look up the fight scenes and have fun. You won't regret it. Yeah. Something like some of you may be wondering, so this show sounds awesome, should I get into it? Well, a couple of things. Let me just, hold on, I'm getting a call. I can't take that right now, sorry. Couple of things. One, this show is not for kids. This is a very adult show. Do not show this show to your kids. Don't do it. Okay, this show is very much for adults. There's a ton of brutal, bloody, like, deathly kills that happen. People get their faces torn off. People get thorns raked against their flesh. People get torn in half. People get eyeballs popping out. It's not for kids. And there's sexual stuff too. There's full-on sex scenes in this show. Not for kids. 2, if you are like the kind of person who... Let me clarify something. I'm Catholic myself, and if you're, like, Catholic or Christian and you really don't like it when a show has elements of anti-Christianity, this might not be the show for you. Because this show does address, like, some of the big plot points of this show are corruption of church, overuse of power that church has, corrupt priests, corrupt bishops, and, you know, stuff like that. So you might get upset seeing that. I'm okay with that kind of stuff being shown because I know that was a problem at points in history. So it's like, yeah, you know, let's not pretend it didn't happen. It happened. So, but if you're not interested in seeing that, if you don't want to see that, this might not be the show for you. So yeah, don't show it to kids, and it might not be for you if you get really mad when you see elements of anti-Christianity. Other than that, though, this show, I'd say give it a try. I'd say just give it a try, see if you like it. like, you might get really into it. I got really into it, and it's only 32 episodes and each episode is 30 minutes or less, so it's not that hard of a show to binge, honestly. Also, one huge plus this show has is I just told you how great the 3 protagonists are. All of the antagonists have a lot of character to them as well. Like, especially Dracula, in my opinion. Like, I freaking love Dracula. And there's some other characters named Hector and Isaac. Isaac is a really interesting character. Really liked him. And there's also, for you vampire fans, Carmilla is in this show. It's kind of cool. It's cool to see Carmilla show up. Carmilla's vampire story is actually older than Dracula's story, for anybody who doesn't know that. So yeah, really cool to see all of that show up. And there's, yeah, like I said before, there's more than vampires. There's siege in this show, like sieging of castles at a couple of points. You know, just full on like warlike scenes where you get to see just shit go down. It's absolutely insane. And I think there was one more thing I wanted to mention before going into spoilers, but now I can't. Oh yeah. And the show, I think, has a satisfying conclusion. I'm not going to talk about it, obviously, because we're not in spoilers, but the characters' arcs are concluded. There's nothing that's just left hanging or that feels like it was forgotten about. Like, everybody has an ending to their story, and everyone's character arc is realized. So yeah, like, if I had to give this show a rating, like, out of 10, it would be a 9 or a 10. It would be one of those. It's really awesome. Like, the season 2 and 3 and 4 finale fights are amazing. Like, when I first saw the season 2 finale battle, I was like, whoa! Like, shit, really Also, I was surprised that kind of fight was already happening. I was like, wow, we're already doing this? Dang! Like, and it was incredible to see. I wanted to rewind it and watch it again, but I had to get the show done. I probably will rewatch some of those scenes now. So yeah, had a lot of fun watching it. Haven't played the games, but I know surface level, so I was able to recognize some characters from the games showing up here. You know what's interesting is I found out Trevor, Sypha, and Alucard are all in a game, I think it's Castlevania 3. And what's weird is there are 4 protagonists in the game. There's another protagonist, I think, named Grant. Where the hell was Grant? He's not in this show. It's like you've got 3 of the 4 protagonists. Where's the 4th one? I didn't see him anywhere, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so that was a little weird. Also, some of the powers of the, like, it is good to try to think of this show as an anime at times, even though it's not an anime, it's America made, but in some ways, because like all the vampires have like powers and you don't know exactly what their powers are, and it seems like some of them have unique powers from each other. This is a lot of stuff that an anime does. So like sometimes a fight will break out and suddenly, oh, I guess that vampire can transform into a flock of bats. Oh, I guess that vampire can transform into mist. Oh, I guess that one can teleport. Oh, I guess that one's fireproof. Like, it's just like I have no idea what any of these guys can do, but it's damn if it isn't cool to watch. Like, that's the main thing. So yeah, I think those are that's basically everything I can tell you about this show without getting into spoilers. It's awesome. Check it out. It's fun. So yeah, either a 9 or a 10 out of 10. This is probably the best adaptation of a video game into a movie or show that has ever existed. Like, feel free to tell me if you think there's another one. I mean, I like the Sonic movie, but Sonic movie is not as good as this. Or, like, if you're a fan of the games and you're actually like, oh no, this is a terrible adaptation, let me know. I want to know that stuff. Honestly, this show makes me want to play the games a lot more. So yeah, please, like, what do you guys think of it? Is there something I miss? Like, is there a bad adaptation thing about it? Or, like, you know, is there a better video game adaptation into a movie or show that I'm not thinking of that's better than this? Like, let me know. Also, hope you guys had a good Halloween. And, okay, I'm going to get into spoilers now. So, spoiler warning in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so I was really surprised that Dracula died so fast. like he dies at the end of season 2. I was like, we got 2 more seasons. Like, I know we have more characters, but he was the coolest one. it's kind of interesting because I think even the show acknowledges that. Even the characters are acknowledging that. I cannot take a call right now, I'm sorry. Even the characters are acknowledging that because, like, there's a ton of plot after he dies. A bunch of characters are trying to bring him back from the dead. So, like, I'm like, hey, even the show wants him back. Like, yeah, but the fight with him is still freaking... I cannot take a call right now, but the fight with him is still freaking incredible. Like, it's amazing. The battle between Dracula and Alucard, like, that's what I was saying, like, is very, like, Dragon Ball Z. They're just bashing all over the place. It's incredible. And I was really excited when when Alucard first showed up, because I was like, oh shit, I didn't know Alucard was gonna be in the show. And I knew, I knew that Alucard was a character in the games because I have a surface level knowledge of the games. I was like, I know that's Dracula's kid. So when he first showed up, I was also kind of surprised to see him because I thought, well, that must be the son of Dracula's wife. And how long were they married? Because they made it look like she died pretty damn quick. But even Alucard says later on, he says, oh, I actually grew up really fast. And they never tell you exactly how long. I'm going to guess, like, they were married for at least 10 years. It's got to be at least 10 years. But yeah, that fight scene was freaking incredible. But yeah, I was bummed that he died so quick. The way it was cool to see him showcase some of his powers, like the giant, like, meteor, like, ball of fire thing. I believe that's a thing in the games. There was one thing I was really let down by. I know Dracula has an ultimate form. We never saw that. That's not in this show. I was sad. I kept thinking it was going to happen. Or I thought in Season 4, when they were trying to bring him back, I thought, oh, he's going to come back in that form. But no, that didn't happen either. So... yeah, I was a little bummed that we never got, like, Ultimate Dracula, so... but the Dracula we had was still freaking amazing, and, yeah, the way he ends up losing the fight, it actually looks like he probably would have won, but then he gets into Alucard's room while they're fighting, and he has a realization. He's like, why am I fighting my son? My boy is the best thing I ever got from my wife, who I don't even have anymore, and now I'm trying to kill him. This isn't right. And then his son stabs him while he's saying that. It's kind of messed up. Oh yeah, that's how he dies, and it's sad. Like when Dracula's wife, like, who was like such a woman who wanted to help humanity, they cut to her burning at the stake. I'm like, oh, why didn't I see that coming? Well, shit's gonna go down now. Like, yeah. Yeah. What was I gonna say next? So yeah, but after Dracula died, I thought, well, how is this show going to keep being epic without him? And amazingly, it was still epic without him. The Season 3 finale, where they're fighting all those night creatures in the cave, and Simon pulls out both his whips, and of course all the creativity they do with Sypha's magic, still amazing. I'm amazed the quality was able to stay high, even though, like, we lost, like, what we thought was our main antagonist. You know, one of the only characters in the show who I thought was kind of dumb and pointless was Godbrand. Do you guys remember? He was that vampire who was like, just had this ridiculous attitude in Dracula's court. I'm like, oh, dude, will you shut up? And apparently, Isaac had enough of him too, because Isaac just stabbed him and was like, nope, I'm done with your shit. Yeah, I don't really think Godbrand had much of a point in the show, but whatever. It's not like he hurt the show. Yeah, but they kept it interesting, because then after that, Carmilla becomes, I think, the overarching villain. And Carmilla, you know, like, her final battle is just beautifully animated. Like, her battle with Isaac is incredible. Isaac is an awesome character, by the way. Like, he's really, like... he has this, like, dignity to him that you can't help but admire. And this determination to him that you can't help but admire. And it's really cool to see, like, his devotion to Dracula, and then, of course, after Dracula dies, his quest for revenge. And he has a lot of character to him, too, because even, like, while he wanted all of humanity to die, but while he walks the world on his quest for revenge, he ends up deciding, you know, maybe I didn't give humanity enough of a chance. And the Season 3 finale, where Isaac is trying to take the city from that guy who took it over by mind-controlling everyone, is so creative and amazing. Like, at first it didn't seem like it was going to be much. It's going to be like, oh, Isaac's going to storm with his monsters, and there's just a bunch of humans walking around. That's not going to be all that interesting. But the guy can do more than mind control them. Apparently he can do whatever he wants with them. Suddenly, like, all of the people start lifting into the sky and balls of humans are being thrown at Isaac. I'm like, that's creative and that's pretty awesome. And it's like a soulnado of humans, like, trying to get to Isaac, like, all these arms together. And you really gotta see it. You really just gotta see it. It's amazing how creative that is and how cool that is. So yeah, like, they managed to keep, like, the action awesome even after Dracula's death. The season 4 finale, they introduced Death as the main villain, though they kind of introduced him at the last minute. It's like, oh, that was the villain. All right, well, I know he's in the games, and, you know, it's cool. All right, sure, why not? And then, what else was I going to say? And there's this kind of weird plot where, like, so we've got, like, this guy, Saint Germain, I think was his name. He's trying to bring back the woman he loves by creating the ultimate alchemy creature in order to bring back the woman he loves. And in order to do that, he has to bring Dracula and his wife back from the dead in the same body, because the ultimate alchemy is a man and woman fused together. I don't know why it has to be Dracula and his wife, though. Couldn't it just be any man and woman? Also, if he's able to open a specific door into the infinite corridor to get Dracula and his wife, why can't he just open a specific door to the woman he loves? Like, I mean, I guess the logic there is they don't know what part of the corridor she's in, but he has a lot of control over the corridor. Why doesn't he at least look? I don't know. It's such a weird plot. I didn't overly like that plot point. It was kind of weird, and yeah, like I'm saying, it's weird, it's complicated. I don't fully get it. I don't know, but it didn't make me stop liking the show because, you know, they're distracting us with all this cool action that's still happening. So that was a little weird, but the season 4 finale battle is so goddamn good, I'm not gonna complain about how things went overly. Like, there's this cool fight, but when people are sieging Dracula's castle, I really like that Alucard got the castle after Dracula died, and I really love that it was right next to the Belmont Hold, and they're, like, gonna merge all of that knowledge together. I thought that was a wonderful way for the story to go. So yeah, like, the castle gets sieged, they have to fight off the siege, then they have to fight off, like, a boss gauntlet of vampires, which is awesome, and then there's the final battle, Trevor versus Death, which is also really cool. I thought the boss gauntlet was cooler, but Trevor versus Death was still cool. One problem I had with the season 3 final battle, like, it's not a huge problem, it was just weird, because the final battle is so awesome. Like, what we see going on between Trevor, Sypha, and the night creatures is so cool, and at the same time seeing Isaac battle against the mind-controlled kingdom is so cool, but during those fights, they keep cutting away to these sex scenes that I don't care about. Like, they keep cutting to, oh, here's Hector and Lenore having sex. It's like, you know, you can just show that they're starting and then not show it again until it's over. I don't need to see every thrust. I don't care. And they're also cutting constantly to a really awkward and out of nowhere sex scene between Alucard and his 2 apprentices. I was like, I don't want to see that. Like, it just felt weird, and also it kept interrupting such cool actions, like, but look, they're boobs, and I don't care. Cut back to the awesome fight I was just watching. And yeah, it turns out that I remember thinking the moment I was like, why are you showing sex scenes during these such incredible dramatic scenes with this dramatic music playing? And then I guess part of the reason for that is because both of those sex scenes led to betrayal, so it was supposed to be dramatic in that way, so fine, I guess. I would have rather, though, that we didn't keep cutting to them, because I prefer the action. I don't like it constantly. I felt like the action was being interrupted, so that was my problem with that. And of course, Alucard's 2 apprentices are dumb. They don't trust him, even though he like literally told them whatever the hell they wanted to know, cooked for them and everything, and they're just like, nah, he must be lying, so we're gonna kill him. Okay. Like, but yeah, I kind of get it. It was cool to see vampires from all over the world. They've had some Japanese vampires, they had a Russian vampire, there was a Viking vampire. It's pretty darn cool. Carmilla's generals, one of them is named Striga. I'm not sure if she's supposed to be named after the plant Striga, or if that's a little nod to Strigoi, which is the Romanian vampire, which is what we get which is what Dracula was based on. So I also love that Dracula's name was Vlad Dracula Tepes, because for anyone who doesn't know, Dracula was inspired by two things. He was inspired by the Romanian Strigoi and by a real person named Vlad the Impaler. So they made Dracula's first name Vlad, and they had him doing what Vlad the Impaler did, sticking people on sticks outside of his castle. So that was cool. And of course, in season 4, we see Alucard once being he's like a teddy bear in some ways. How he plays with orphan kids and stuff, and he opens his castle to everyone. And he has a shield now, and he's just kicking ass. It's amazing. What's funny though is like during a lot of season 4, Alucard is fighting off monsters with his sword, and then I remember during the siege, he used this thing where he like charged his sword up and released a wave that killed like 6 monsters in once. And I'm like, dude, where was that attack earlier when you guys were walking through the forest? Don't you think you should have used that then? Also, when he invites all these people to come live in his castle, and they know they could get attacked at any moment, they all camp in tents outside the castle. I'm like, go in the castle, you idiots! What are you doing? And that's what they end up. Then the fight starts and they're still outside the castle. I'm like, go in the castle! And then when they start getting overwhelmed, they're like, oh no, we should go in the castle. I'm like, yeah! What have you been doing? Go! And then they go. So yeah, a couple of weird, nonsensical moments. I didn't think the season 1 fight finale was all that epic, but it was cool enough. I feel like after season 1 was when they were like, alright, people like the show, here's money to make it look fucking amazing. Couple of things about, I honestly, yeah, I told you my only issue with Sypha's character is the whole, I wish we had known where her powers came from in the first place. Alucard, no issues with his character, really. Trevor, almost none. Only, I think, 2 things. One being, I didn't fully believe his turn in season 1, where he went from not caring about humanity to caring about humanity. It felt a little sudden. Maybe it's because that season only had, 4 episodes? Maybe that has something to do with it, but it just felt very sudden, and it felt like the plot says you have to care now, so you care now. But I still liked seeing him do it. And then the other thing is, I honestly was really surprised to see that he didn't die at the end, because I thought that was a good conclusion for his character. Like, how early in the series he, only cares about himself and he just wants to survive, but then he ends up, sacrificing himself to save humanity and save the woman he loves, and I thought that was a good place to end it, honestly. But it turns out he's still alive. Look, I'm not upset he's still alive, because I like his character, but I think it would have been more meaningful and fit the story more if he actually had died fighting death. They surprise us with the whole, oh no, he didn't die because Saint Germain saved him, but, it felt a little, what's the word? It felt, I guess for a show like this, the ending felt a little too happy. And then it's not just that, it ends with Dracula and his wife being alive again too, which is another thing that I didn't think was needed. Even though it's cool, because they're both very likable characters, it's cool that they're alive, but I didn't think it was needed. I personally thought it was cool enough that after Dracula died, the first thing he did was he went and he found his wife in hell, and he was reunited with her. Though I do have one question, why the hell was his wife in hell? What did she do to warrant being in hell? She spent her whole life trying to help people. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But I do like the idea of Dracula, they even say it, you died and the first thing you did was look for me. That's so sweet. I like that. So yeah, I mean, I guess those are basically all. Also, what's her name? Lenore. Lenore's ending was just kind of weird. Like, she just went out and killed herself because I guess I don't want to be in a cage. It's like, okay. I don't know. It just felt like they didn't know what to do with her character, really. And another weird thing is she went and she stood out in the sun and she instantly disintegrated. It's like, we've seen vampires experience sunlight before and we've seen them scream and burn, but with her it's just poof. It's like, well, she's lucky. Also, I don't know why Carmilla exploded when she died. She exploded like a nuke. None of the other vampires did that. Why was that? So, yeah, I don't know. Again, it's probably just the anime power inconsistency, not fully knowing what they can and can't do thing. But either way, I think that's everything I like and dislike about the show. Overall, fantastic show. Had a great time with it. I hear that there may be a spinoff, and I'm all for that, because this world is really cool that they've established in this show. I'm really glad that that Castlevania was outsourced for something like this so that freaking Konami couldn't ruin it, because that company is garbage and doesn't know what the hell they're doing with anything. So, it's good to let someone who actually knows what they're doing do it. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. I had a good time with it. I hope you guys had a good time with it, or if you haven't and or if you haven't seen it, what are you doing in the spoiler section? But what did you guys think of it? Do you disagree with me on any of these points? Is there something about it that really stuck with you, or something about it you really didn't like, or something about it you really did like? I mean, what do you think? Let me know what you think. I'm the Mythology Guy. That was a mythology-related show, and a really freaking awesome one. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.